Boa noite a todos e todas aqui presentes. Mais uma vez agradeço pela presença de cada um dos nossos espectadores. E hoje, em mais uma noite especial para nós, começamos mais um dos trabalhos da primeira jornada acadêmica do curso de Relações Internacionais da Universidade Católica de Brasília. Essa é uma iniciativa dos estudantes da instituição que visa transportar o mercado de trabalho para o ambiente universitário. E nessa perspectiva, a ideia é trazer um momento de imersão e uma nova experiência que nos permita aproximar tanto os agentes do mercado de trabalho como as empresas aos estudantes. E hoje, nesse pré-evento, nós temos a honra de receber alguém que é bastante especial para a gente e que tem uma história muito bacana para nos contar. E vamos lá. O pessoal está dando delay. Voltei. Como estamos? E, enfim, avançando, então, hoje recebemos ela, que é formada. Está ruim, não é? Está instável, mas vamos lá, vamos avançar. Ela, que é nativa da Flórida, formada em Ciências Políticas e Sociais pela Universidade Estadual da Flórida, e que durante seus estudos ensinou inglês e também atuou junto a grupos de conversação para alunos internacionais. Ela também trabalhou com comunidades imigrantes no ensino de inglês, direito e educação cívica. Ainda na sua jornada, pôde colaborar com Caridades Católicas para justamente trabalhar junto às ações para a primeira infância. Trabalhou também como especialista em educação para menores imigrantes, tendo atuado até mesmo em El Salvador, para contribuir na observação de processos políticos, difusão de microempréstimos e ensino de inglês. Tendo servido ainda como assistente por 2 anos na Universidade Católica do Oriente e na Universidade del Valle, na Colômbia, voltou aos Estados Unidos para trabalhar em um centro de mediação de conflitos na New York Peace Institute, como mediadora, especialista em programas de justiça restaurativa da Corte Criminal e treinadora de mitigação de conflitos para oficiais da patrulha de Nova York City. Ela faz parte da Bolsa Pickering e completou seu mestrado na Universidade de Columbia em 2019. Daí começou sua carreira diplomática e hoje atua como oficial de comunicações e relacionamento com o público no Consulado do Rio de Janeiro, dos Estados Unidos da América. E recebemos, então, nessa noite, a senhora Caitilin Meiers para falar um pouquinho sobre a trajetória dela. Seja bem-vinda, Caitilin.
Muito obrigada pelo convite. Realmente é um honor meu para estar aqui conversando com os alunos, outros interessados aqui. A Lene tem realmente uma introdução apresentada bem bonita, mas, infelizmente, meu português informado, principalmente pelo Big Brother, não é o suficiente para poder descrever 100% a minha trajetória. E como me formei para entrar no Departamento de Estado no Itamaraty, então, com seu permisso, eu vou contar aquela parte aí em inglês, mas durante o período de perguntas eu posso responder qualquer pergunta, dúvida ou para esclarecer qualquer coisa em português. Então, para começar em inglês, né? For me, growing up, I didn't really understand much about international relations. I didn't leave my home country until I was 21 at the time, and that was to work at a nonprofit organization in El Salvador. So for me, thinking about the wider world around me isn't something that really started until I was in my undergraduate career. At that time, I met so many people from so many different countries in the world studying. I had the pleasure and distinct honor of working in English conversation clubs, helping folks and their families feel more comfortable as they were studying abroad in the United States. And through that lens, as well as through the lens of community service, working with migrant groups in Florida, also teaching English, as well as helping them understand their civil and legal rights in the United States, did I start thinking about the community outside of the country that I grew up in. And in that way, in engaging in community service in El Salvador, did I start thinking about a potential career abroad. When I was finishing my undergraduate studies, that was the first time that I heard about the Thomas R. Pickering Foreign Affairs Fellowship Program, which is one of several programs that the United States Department of State has in order to encourage women, people with different ability levels, and people from different ethnic backgrounds to join the Foreign Service to be more representative of the United States as it is a vibrant multicultural society. I joined the State Department through the Thomas R. Pickering Foreign Affairs Fellowship Program in 2017 when I started my master's program at Columbia University. From there, I engaged in the thorough process to join the Department of State, similar to the examination process to join the group of diplomats working with Itamaraty. The Department of State has a very rigorous testing program. First, potential candidates must take a Foreign Service Officer test. This is a grueling test that's offered a few times a year, in which you are quizzed on history, international relations, use of the English language, your problem-solving skills, your writing skills, and many other different skill set areas. From there, if you pass that phase, you're asked to submit a series of narratives about how you respond to challenges, about how you embody the 13 dimensions of a Foreign Service officer, ways that you've shown composure, examples of how you used interpersonal skills to solve problems abroad, or different things like that. After submitting in your personal narratives, you may be selected for the Foreign Service Oral Assessment. This is a particularly excruciating exam that takes place throughout the span of a whole day, starting around 6:30 in the morning, in which you engage in a series of oral examinations, case-solving issues, writing, group interview, individual interview, and at the very end of this overwhelming and truly exhausting day, do you sometimes have the opportunity to receive a handshake and be told, congratulations and welcome to the Foreign Service. I still remember this day. It's something that I think will stay in my memory for a very long time. From there, candidates are assessed for their medical, suitability, and security backgrounds in order to make sure that they're suitable candidates for the Foreign Service and to join the diplomatic corps. After all of these processes, then would someone receive an invitation to an orientation class to join the Foreign Service. I was very lucky to receive my letter. I still remember in August 2019, and I joined the September 2019 orientation class with the Foreign Service. From there, I received my first posting to the beautiful, wonderful city of Rio de Janeiro, and I'm proud here to serve at the U.S. Consulate General here in Rio de Janeiro as our consulate's communications and outreach officer. That's the crux of my story, but I'm happy to talk, answer any questions, as I said, in English or in Portuguese, a little bit more about what the consulate does, what the State Department does, or what I do in my work as a diplomat with the United States.
Caitilin, I'm really glad that you are enjoying Brazil. For me, you are in one of the best cities that we have. That is Rio de Janeiro. It's just I'm just amazed for this city, and I'm really glad that you have been in a good way. And I have some questions, but first I would like to make a question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to be a woman in all these ways, and you are dealing with many kind of publics. How is it for you? Because it's something that it was in my mind when I received your information and about your history, your professional path. How is it to be a woman dealing with this kind of topics like immigrants, situations with people in, I guess, not a good moment, maybe in some kind of trouble, and so how is it for you to be a woman inside those places? Is this?
That's a fantastic question, Alini. I think that in many ways, whenever we close our eyes and think about what or who a diplomat is, typically people tend to think of men. Many, I'd say the majority of ambassadors for every country around the world are men. I am very, very lucky to be one of the women diplomats that's able to represent my country abroad. Cognizant that worldwide, many times women don't receive the same opportunity or respect as men do. However, I'm very fortunate to form a part of the Thomas R. Pickering International Relations Fellowship that gives me the opportunity, and that the State Department has so many opportunities, such as these fellowship programs, to make sure that women are represented in the State Department and are represented as the faces of the United States abroad. I think that there are many issues around the world that women may have different perspectives on. And I'm very fortunate to be working at a consulate that is led by a woman, our Consulate General, Jacqueline Ward. She's another fantastic example of a woman who's done fantastic things in the Foreign Service. And I think that times are changing. And I'm very fortunate to have gone through an orientation class that was mostly comprised of women, and to work alongside so many fantastic women at the consulate and within Mission Brazil as a whole.
I'm so glad to listen to this, Caitilin, because it's really interesting to know that those places, like you said, they are dominated by men. They are everywhere. When we think about some stuff, it's about men stuff, and it's like this position I see like it's a position for men. Sometimes it's even what we are listening when we are talking about with people, and that's great. But and also about your trajectory, how do you see the immigrant stuff or the immigrant trouble in your career? Because what I saw is that you have a good work or wide work with those groups. Why to choose them, Caitilin? What caught your attention by those group of people, and what made you be so close to them?
I really appreciate that question, because that brings me something that's so close to my heart. When I was attending college for the first time, my first time away from home, I started engaging in different volunteer opportunities in my local community. I was living in a new city for the first time, and I wanted to understand what that city was like. And I was shocked to learn that not even 1 hour's drive away from this big, beautiful university campus that was so modern and had everything that we needed, lived communities of migrants without stable homes, without stable access to utilities, that were living in fear. And that was such a shock to me. I immediately was called to do something to help. So starting at the very beginning of my university career, I started assisting volunteer English classes to help these migrant workers who would work all during the day learn English at night. Through Catholic Charities, I interned in order to help put together Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, what we call DACA in the United States, cases together for children who came to the United States before they were 18 years old, and who wanted to make sure that they could find a pathway to become citizens and to remain in the United States. And I think I was just so moved to see a reality that was so different from my own, that working with migrants and working with immigrants became something that was so important to me. And I remember having the opportunity to help file all of this immigration paperwork and move it onto the United States Citizen and Immigration Services, USCIS. And I remember thinking at that time, 10 years ago, that it felt like we were sending all of this paperwork into a big, mysterious bureaucracy. And I had no idea what was happening inside. And I feel very, very fortunate that in my very first post as a diplomat for the United States, I had the opportunity to work in immigrant visas. And so 10 years ago, I used to work at the very beginning of the process. And now I had the opportunity to work at the very end of the process, to be able to tell someone, parabéns, seu visto foi aprovado. That was truly something that gave me such a sense of closure and gave me a profound sense of hope. That it was really inspiring to be able to come into work every day and think that I am going to get to help make an American citizen today. And that's how migrants and the immigrant community first came into my life. And I really feel so honored and privileged that I get to help continue with that work now as a diplomat. Oh, Alini, I think I lost you.
Okay, I think I'm back. Okay. That's great, Caitlin, because when you talk about it, I can feel the love in your speech. It's like you're profoundly connected with this. It's really interesting the way that you speak. But and now that you are here outside, and you are now, now you maybe is in the other side. How is to be in so far away of your home country? How is to be in this? I mean, this adventure that is to be outside. How is it going for you?
I appreciate the question because this is something that's constantly changing. I first arrived in Brazil the week before Christmas. So December 15th, 2020. And of course, at that time, we were still following all of the quarantine guidance. So that meant that I wasn't able to leave home on Christmas Day. I'm very fortunate to have some very close friends from my master's graduate university program who live here in Rio, and I was hoping to be able to spend some of Christmas with them or be able to meet their families. But of course, abiding by quarantine protocols, I had a very lonely Christmas Day all by myself in my apartment, and tried to spend that time watching Christmas movies, of course, and things like that, things like holidays, when you're away from your family or you're away from traditions or places that you love, that can be difficult. On the other hand, being a diplomat means that you are stepping into a constant state of adventure. Just last week, I had the opportunity to visit Minas Gerais and visit lots of beautiful historical centers of culture in Brazil for the first time, something that I never thought I'd be able to do if I were still living in the United States. I have the opportunity to learn so much about music and food and culture and literature and history of a country as culturally rich as Brazil, that someone who's only passing through for a week or two on vacation might not necessarily get to learn. And so sometimes there are low points when you miss family, when you miss weddings, when you miss special occasions. It hurts to be away from family during those times. However, moments like that, getting to explore different towns, learning about different people, different traditions, that sense of adventure and opportunity to travel is something that really tries to balance it out a little bit.
Well, Caitlin, it's really interesting that you came before Christmas. It's like you say, to be away in one of the most familiar dates of the
Exactly.
year. It's really a challenge, and I love it that you put it like to be a diplomat. A diplomat is to be in a continuous adventure. It's very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very very interesting point of view. And now, please, my partners, do you have some passion? What do you think about it, Ana Julia?
Yes, I do have some considerations to do. I'm sorry for my English. It's been a while since I last spoke.
Podemos bater o papo em português também.
Ok. Obrigada. Eu queria saber quais são as qualidades que a senhora acha que um diplomata deve ter, especialmente para as jovens mulheres que estão nos assistindo, como se preparar para esse mercado de trabalho. Obrigada.
Isso é uma boa pergunta, e até eu tenho um link aqui que eu vou passar para a Aline e os outros organizadores, que dentro do Departamento do Estado dos Estados Unidos temos até 13 dimensões, 13 características específicas que ele está buscando num candidato para entrar no serviço diplomático. Mas, mais especificamente para a sua pergunta, eu acho que uma mulher como eu, ou uma pessoa que se vê menos representado, tipicamente, tradicionalmente, dentro da estrutura do governo do seu país, precisa de coragem. Porque em inglês temos esse termo imposter syndrome. Não sei como seria em português, mas às vezes eu senti que eu não mereço estar aqui. Eu estou tomando o lugar de outra pessoa. Eu estou menos qualificado do que outra pessoa. Quando realmente essas são as dúvidas internas, contando essas mentiras, porque nem são histórias, são mentiras. Então, às vezes, passa para mim também. respiro profundo e encontro minha coragem. Sim, eu mereço estar aqui. Sim, minhas ideias têm valores também. Sim, o que eu preciso dizer, o que eu posso contribuir, se vale igual como outra pessoa. Sim, eu tenho uma perspectiva que pode ser diferente, até mais desenvolvido do que outra pessoa, pelas coisas que eu tenho vivido, que eu tenho visto pessoalmente. E às vezes é difícil tomar esse passo, né, Ana Júlia? E assim, eu acho que coragem é uma coisa, coragem para confirmar que sou uma diplomata válida, eu sou uma diplomata certificada, eu sim tenho direito a um espaço aí. Assim, acho que isso, em cima das 13 dimensões, das 13 características que pedimos de qualquer diplomata, acho que precisa um pouco de coragem também. Obrigada pela pergunta.
Just a great answer, Caitlin. I just loved it that you said that his courage is the most important ability that maybe we can need to carry on, I could say. And it's really inspiring because if I can connect this courage with you, the beginning of your speech, like you say, is to be in the places that before you didn't belong for the people. And courage is needed to make this change, to be in those places and to change the way, maybe open this for the who came after us. You know? It's really inspiring. I just love this. And my partners, do you have some question? Maria, do you have any appointment to do for Caitlin?
Yeah, I have a question too. Good evening, Caitilin. Thank you for your presentation. I'm so amazed with your history and your journey. And I have two questions. The first one is about your day by day here in Brazil as a diplomat. So, what do you do? What's your day schedule? And the second one, it's about the main challenges that you are trying to lead here. And yeah, these questions. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for the questions, Maria Carolina. So like many Brazilians, I am mostly working home office. So I will wake up, I'll try to do some exercise, do some yoga, make breakfast, and then sit down for a riveting day of emails. So as part of the consular communications and outreach officer, I help monitor many of the questions that Brazilians ask through all of our different social media platforms. So YouTube comments, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Whenever someone has a question for us, we always do our best to make sure we're answering. So that, as you can imagine, takes a long time out of the day. I have an excellent team who is constantly looking for these questions and responding and drafting. We also receive inquiries from Congress members in the United States. Often, for example, someone who's living in the United States might write their congressperson, and maybe they want to write to Senator Warren because they live in her state and they want to inquire about the immigration application for their fiance, their sister, their daughter in the United States. And so we also receive lots of congressional inquiries as well. And so we're looking into the cases, we're responding to those. Right now, we're also getting a lot of questions about the operations that are on pause because of the pandemic, but also the operations that are taking place. So even though it's very difficult to set up an appointment for a tourist visa, that does not mean the consulate is closed. We are still processing dozens of immigrant visa interviews and applications every day, as well as helping folks with adoptions, Americans in crisis abroad, folks that are in the hospital or lost their passport or have given birth abroad and are presenting that baby or young child to the consulate in order to get all of their paperwork together. Other Americans that might be in crisis across Brazil. So these are all parts of the communications that we are doing on a daily basis. On top of that, I help organize some of our outreach events. So of course, in a pre-pandemic world, the consulate would have several events every month for Brazilians interested in student visas and studying abroad and working in the United States. And so although we very sadly had to pause those kinds of events during the pandemic for everybody's health and safety, we're starting to resume those types of events in a safer virtual atmosphere. So coordinating with different community members in order to try to start those events again and to help educate Brazilians on their opportunities to engage in fellowships, scholarships, exchange programs, student programs in the United States. Those are the main responsibilities that I do in my day-to-day.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, she asked about my whole routine. And at night, I try to go to samba club. It doesn't always work out, but I do my best.
It's working. It's actually really good. Your answers are just really interesting me. Just a minute. I think it's. No, it's really great, Caitlin. Don't worry. I like to listen, and I think you're giving us a lot of science insights and a new way of view. And now, Felipe, do you have any question or have a comment for Caitlin? Please view the word.
Yes. Hi, Caitlin. Nice to meet you, by the way. So first of all, I want to thank you for being here and accept our invitation. Last week, we met Mr. Welsh here, and he talked about how challenging this career could be, and he mentioned some stuff that sometimes you must to give up. Better you have to attend some demands, not just you but your family. I mean, sometimes you have to move on a lot. Sometimes you have to stay away from your family, friends. And actually, I have two questions. How do you deal with this? And have you ever thought about stopping doing this? Have this ever crossed on your mind? Consider that you have already mentioned about self-confidence. Do you think that just this positivity is sufficient to keep you in your journey?
Felipe, it is a pleasure to meet you too. I'm so honored to be here, and I love these complex questions. So starting with the first one, things that we give up. It is very difficult. Two very close friends of mine got married in the past week, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend those kinds of very important events in people's lives. But luckily, one of the positives of living in a city as beautiful as Rio de Janeiro is that I'm inviting them to come and celebrate their honeymoon with us. So that's something that I think evens it out a little bit. In terms of sacrifices, it's very difficult. My husband, for example, wasn't able to join me when I first arrived in Brazil. He had to remain in New York City for the first 5 months that I was living here. And so that kind of separation becomes very difficult. He worked very, very hard to be able to transition his job to something that he would be able to do from Brazil. And even this month, he's back in New York City for work. And we don't even know if he'll be able to join me at my next posting. And that's one of the challenges, how to make sure that I'm able to balance my marriage as well as my career. Right now, we're in the process of bidding and thinking about where we're going to be spending the next 2 years of our lives. And so it's very difficult to think that it could be somewhere as close as Uruguay or somewhere as far away as Thailand. The whole world is open. And so it can be overwhelming thinking about all of the possibilities that are before us and all of the challenges that come with that. Your other question, I believe, was about confidence and a positive attitude. As you can tell, I feel like I express myself as a very positive person. I've certainly been smiling this whole time because it really is such a pleasure to be here chatting with you. I think that it's not just coragem. It's not just being positive. I think that you have to really be able to identify your core values and be able to see that in the work that you do. For me personally, working with the migrant community in Florida is something that was so impactful for me, and helping people, having the opportunity to help people gain that security and that sense of status, educating them about their civil rights. That was something that was so important to me. And so to be able to see those same values in my work as a diplomat with the immigrant visa section, that's so important to me. Being able to continue this love of community service in the foreign service is something that really keeps me going. And even on days when it's a little rainy, it's a little difficult, I have a project that I'm not particularly enthusiastic about, that idea that the final goal is to help other people is what keeps me motivated. I think that in addition to having that intrinsic motivation and the positivity and courage that we already discussed, I think it's important to make sure that you can connect ethically with the work that you're doing, that you are also able to find areas of interest that you're passionate about. I have become very passionate about Brazil, and I hope to continue working in the region. And I think that wherever I might go next, whatever country I might go to next, whatever bureau, thinking about functional bureaus like conflict stability and operations, about energy, about democracy, human rights, and labor, thinking about these kinds of larger missions within the State Department is something that just really gives me so much enthusiasm. And I think that's another key part of success in this career. And to your last question, if this career doesn't work out, or if I lose enthusiasm, what would I think about next? I think that one of the benefits of the State Department is that you have a new job every 2 to 3 years. So if you're thinking, oh, this is getting kind of old, oh, I don't find this interesting anymore, don't worry. You are going to be starting a new job with a new team in a new place with a new boss soon enough. For me, before I joined the Foreign Service, I had been working as a mediator at the New York Peace Institute, as well as a bilingual case manager there. And I think that that's that kind of work is something that I bring with me. I think that many diplomats are mediators in their own kind of way. And I think that that's work that I would love to continue doing more of, should the Foreign Service not work out. But at this point in time, I still feel so lucky that I'm getting to live this dream as a diplomat that I've had for so long. Thank you for your questions, Felipe. They really caused me to do some internal reflection.
And I think the word that can connect all these questions is purpose. If you have your purpose and you fight for it, I think things going to get good and you're going to be happy. I think it's all about this. Thank you.
Exactly. It's very purpose-driven work.
Definitely, you don't get bored being a diplomat. Definitely.
No.
Okay. And Caitlin, I have a question for you. It's your job, I think, in the root. It's about international relations. One of the first things that we learn is a continuous work to get different cultures and putting together, or better, putting closer. And you need to be careful to don't get many, how could I say, many fights or some kind of issue about the difference between those people. And for you, in your career, how is to be profoundly connected with different cultures, and how is it in the real life? Because when we are studying, we listen about, okay, you can make this, you can study the culture of the person that you be treating with, but how is it in the real time when you're in the, how could I say, in the work, the real work? How is to put together different cultures and dealing with them, especially because I think you are in a very sensible place of the embassy, that is communicate and outreach officer office. How is to be in this position, and how is it in the real world?
You know, your question really digs to the heart of diplomacy. You know, the United States leaders don't always agree 100% of the time, and every nation under the sun has its own interests, has its own laws, has its own way of doing things. And I think the best way that countries work together is by identifying common values. So, as an example, the United States is a country that has a lot of pride in its institutions and its sense of liberty and democracy. And Brazil is a country that also has a very strong democratic tradition, and that also has incredible history and natural resources and an abundance of climates and cultures, right? From the deserts in Tocantins to the deep rainforest in Amazonia to Lençóis Maranhenses. It's a country that has so much variation and has such a wide variety of peoples. And I think through all of that, there are some values that transcend, that both cultures hold dear, right? The sense of family, the importance of family, the the sacred sense of freedom, a strong sense of expression. These are all things that you can see equally in both countries. And the United States, through its different embassies and consulates, has a very strong tradition of holding cultural events that help bring these two things, these two elements of shared values together. For example, that might be having a jiu-jitsu school from the United States come and visit and see the original jiu-jitsu schools here in Brazil and being able to connect those cultural pieces. It might be looking at different performers that go to Boteco in Boston and having a performance and really connecting, you know, the Brazilian Bostons with the Brazilians here at home, and having an opportunity to find these shared cultural interests and shared values. For example, the consulate here in Rio de Janeiro is the only post that processes immigrant visas, such as those for adoptions. November is National Adoption Month, and understanding how important family is for Brazilians and how important the sense of family is for people in the United States as well. Being able to celebrate this month of adoptions that have brought so many children from the United States into families in Brazil, and so many children from Brazil into families in the United States, and being able to celebrate that shared heritage and that shared story is one of the ways that I think the United States and Brazil are constantly strengthening our shared relationship. And I think that, like you said, conflicts are coming up and things are so much more complicated, you know, these days. But I think that whenever we have the opportunity to reflect on our shared values, like Felipe said, focusing on our purpose, focusing on what really drives us, that's the best way that we come together.
Such a great answer, definitely. And we have a question for our viewers, and actually it's part of our degree. Yasmin Araújo, she asked for you, Caitlin. First she said, boa noite, Caitlin. É um prazer tê-la conosco. E a pergunta dela é, gostaria de saber o que você pensa sobre o seu futuro. Tem algum sonho de carreira que você ainda gostaria de realizar?
Oi, boa noite, Jasmine. Meu sonho, confesso que eu tenho um sonho grande ainda dentro dessa mesma carreira. No Departamento de Estado, temos uma posição, se chama SPOCS. Esse é o porta-voz do departamento. Quando eu estava fazendo mini prática lá no Departamento de Estado, acho já 3 anos, 4 anos, eu poderia assistir em vivo, estar numa mesa lá no fundo do auditório e ver esse porta-voz contestando perguntas bem difíceis de um dos maiores jornalistas do país, inclusive jornalistas internacionais, perguntando coisas específicas, tentando atrapalhar ela, e ela contestou cada vez com a verdade, como política dos Estados Unidos, defendendo críticas, e eu estava assombrada, tipo, uau, eu quero fazer um trabalho assim, eu quero trabalhar como jornalistas, com repórteres diferentes, falar com representantes dos periódicos aqui dentro do Brasil, dos Estados Unidos, outros países, visitando. E esse é o meu sonho de carreira dentro do Departamento do Estado. Falando de uma carreira fora do departamento, poxa, não, realmente esse seria meu sonho grande, certo? Muito obrigada pela pergunta, sempre me dá uma sorriso pensar nisso, né? Este sonho, essa etapa da carreira.
Incrível, gostei bastante do seu ponto de chegada, Caitilin. Sem sombra de dúvidas, também outra mulher inspirando aí você nesse caminho. E antes de partirmos para a próxima pergunta, Caitilin, queria apresentar aí a Esquina da Ciência Benjamin Franklin, que é um espaço da Embaixada dos Estados Unidos no Brasil, dedicado ao fomento e a estudos sobre a cultura e a sociedade estadunidense por aqui no Brasil. Ela é sediada na Universidade Católica de Brasília, na Biblioteca Central, e estão aí acompanhando conosco a nossa live e mandam um gentil agradecimento a Caitilin, esse que é um dos nossos grandes parceiros da jornada e que também permitiram que esse encontro acontecesse hoje. Muito obrigada, Caitilin, e obrigada à Esquina da Ciência pela presença e pelo suporte de sempre. E Caitilin, caminhando para o fim da nossa... Opa, desculpa, perdão, interrompê-la. Pode falar.
Não, só queria agradecer a vocês pelo convite e pela oportunidade para compartilhar um pouco mais da minha vida com vocês. Obrigada pelas perguntas. Realmente me dá uma oportunidade para refletir um pouco sobre minha carreira e espero conhecer pessoalmente a Esquina da Ciência Benjamin Franklin um dia, quando for possível, seguro para todo mundo. Ha sido um prazer 100% meu.
Todo nosso, Caitilin, é um prazer recebê-la, você é um show de simpatia, e espero também poder conhecê-la, poder recebê-la, será um prazer ter esse encontro presencial e vê-la frente a frente. E caminhando para o encerramento da nossa noite, vamos para uma última pergunta, que é da minha companheira aí de comitê, Ana Júlia. Ana Júlia, o que você manda para Caitilin?
I'm going to try in English because I have. What can you tell us about the role diplomacy has in the making of a successful world leader? And from your point of view, I forgot the word. How does diplomacy help promote human rights in other countries? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Ana Julia. I think that even countries that are islands, we say in English, no man is an island, no people can exist without other people. Without diplomacy, without creating these bridges that connect people, that connect culture, that connect societies, that connect values, it's impossible to get anything done. Thinking about security, enforcement at physical borders, thinking about all of the different products that we see in a supermarket, what of that would be possible without trade agreements made with neighboring countries? Being in a Mercosur country, you understand the importance of having all of these products and for Brazil to be able to export them. Understanding the different points of Brazilian pride, being able to have football players that are negotiated a fair salary and have certain rights as they're playing abroad, and having the opportunity to host a wonderful Olympic ceremony and World Cup all in the same stretch, and have different people come from all over the world. That was a huge feat of diplomacy. I think that there are numerous examples of the way that diplomacy is essential for a country to run, as well as for any leader. And I think that one of the things that has helped me most in my career as a diplomat is that past experience as a mediator, being able to really listen to what people are expressing and the values that they're trying to communicate when they express them. I think that having that sense to really listen to the deepest, most profound element of what someone is trying to express That's the key to diplomacy. And I think that that's the key for any leader to have true success as they lead a small team or as they lead a nation. Those are the things that are going to be essential to finding success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Such a great question, definitely. And thank you for the answer, Caitilin. And now we are going to finish on my finish with a side. And thank you so much for your history. It was really amazing to listen your points, the way that you speak. I think for me and listen is just inspiring. It's very interesting to listen to a woman, and you have so much action, and the careness that you give us today is inspiring. It's really inspiring for us, for me as a woman, as someone that's dealing with this everything, to keep changing, to love what we are doing, and to improve the things that we are doing, to do the best always, and to love. Thank you so much, Caitilin, for the trust in us, in our project, to come today here this night, and to share with us. I think it was a great moment to listen your history and your point of view. And please, you are welcome to visit us. It will be a pleasure to receive you in person, definitely. And thank you so much, Caitilin.
Thank you all for having me. It's really been such a pleasure. And I hope one day to be able to come and visit y'all in the Benjamin Center, and to get to know Brasilia and come see the university for myself. This is a big goal of mine.
Thank you so much, Caitilin. Okay, and thank you everyone to be here watching us, supporting us, and now I invite you guys, everyone that's watching us, to take part in the Jornada Acadêmica, and it's a great opportunity that we are trying to bring to the university, and more experiences like Caitilin gave us today, we can deliver it in the event, the main event. Caitilin, and see you guys until next meeting. Thank you so much. See you and have a good night, everyone.
See you.
Bye, Caitilin.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Vamos tirar todo mundo.